It was only a matter of time. We've had our first successful YouTube video. Thanks to you. We are kings. You are kings. If this is your first time, welcome to the halls of Baldur, the Just Gaming Podcast. We have a show for you. So sit down, adventurer. Hold up your mead. Mine's water. We don't have any food.
Welcome back to the Just Gaming Podcast. We hit 1,000, Mark.
I know, dude. It's honestly unbelievable. Like, we sit there we made that a goal. Like, in a year we'll do it, and we beat that. We beat that goal, and that's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, no, that is pretty wild. Like, usually, like right when we first started, the channel, and this is before we even started actually making like content, right?
Yeah.
Like everything we were doing at the time was just the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we were pretty fixated on it, to be honest. And it took us a while to kind of like peel off of that and go, you know what? Maybe we should start doing some more creative stuff. So, yeah, it's kind of wild that we've grown so fast. Like, so fast. Like, it almost like it came in like a wave overnight. It was the wildest thing. Like, we went from, not really getting a whole lot of views on any of our stuff to getting just like a massive amount on this last video, which has been ballin'.
Yeah, it's been it's hard. It's like kind of a little overwhelming, and just like you look at it one day, you're like, oh yeah, that's doing awesome, and then you look at it again, you're like, I can't believe it's still doing awesome. Like, yeah, this thing's still just like.
Yeah, so
it's still going.
Instead of us just talking about it out of context, this week I put out a video that was Final Fantasy versus World of Warcraft, and the video has done exceedingly well. Multitudes better than any content that we put out previously. It's overall like really well received, which is freaking awesome. And yeah, it's really cool. I mean, we got a huge wave of new people coming into the channel, which is awesome. Welcome. If you guys end up coming and watching this, welcome. We love you.
Welcome.
So, yeah, no, it just in general, like I'm taken aback because it's not something that was necessarily expected, but it is something that is very much welcome. So, so it's really cool. The one thing though, and I was talking about this the other day, where it's like the thing is that like that last video now sets a bar of like quality. You know what I mean? Like
mm-hmm.
We can't do worse than that. We have to make sure that we do better. So, I think I made in kind of a post like in the video previously, and I'll state it again now that anything that any of these long form content videos that I make, like these video essays and stuff, like I'm just going to continually set the bar higher. So like the next video I do is going to be, notches above that one. So, as long, please keep supporting and watching the stuff, and thanks for interacting with us.
Also, comment topics that you'd like to see Ian do an essay style video on.
Yep, and I will completely fucking ignore them.
Oh man, it's been a good week. Man.
Sorry.
I finally started playing Final Fantasy again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I realized like last week we talked about it. I was in a weird headspace last week, but we talked about it of like, why I stopped playing it or whatever. And the only reason, and I thought about it after I played it, the only reason I stopped playing it is because I finished the content that I wanted to finish, right? And so I was waiting on the next patch, right? Because I don't do any of the Savage in-game rating stuff, right? So I finished the story part of it. That's why I kind of play Final Fantasies for the story, right? And then, but I guess like at one point I'm just like, you just don't play it, then you just start playing other stuff, and then you kind of forget about it, and then you're like, oh, and then once you start back into it, it's like putting on like your favorite pair of sweatpants. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just feels good.
Yeah,
So
it fits. It feels cozy. It's nice to be in. I don't understand why you turned away from Savage though, or like and just endgame content in general. Like there's a lot of different stuff that you could do. You know what I mean?
I think it's the time commitment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the okay, I've got to raid this many nights a week. I've got to do this. You know what I mean? It's that I don't have that kind of time to put into it to be fair to the people that I'd be playing with and to myself. You know what I mean? So
I mean,
it's
like
just not,
if I wanted to play the other side of that, you know, you don't have to join a static. You could just party finder it.
yeah, you could. Yeah,
and,
you could.
And like teach yourself and join learning parties and stuff until you get it and then get it.
Yeah, but it's still a time commitment of the playing, the learning, the playing of it. I mean, with my work schedule and everything, I only have I have a limited amount of time to game all week. So
yeah. Well, I mean, like I'm just trying to be like a typical Final Fantasy player and not understand why you won't just play the damn game.
Trying to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like it really is. I mean, that's with any MMO. It's nothing against Final Fantasy. It's with any MMO. They are time sinks. You know what I mean? They're gonna eat up your time to get to a level where you're good enough to do that. You know what I mean? So.
Yep. But Jackie says just be like her, suffer and party finder.
Yeah.
Well, you still have a lot to play anyway. Like even though because you're only caught up to the previous patch, not the patch that we're in right now. So like you still got like a little bit of ways to go. And you're actually going to be kind of held back by gear because the issue with you taking so long off is that it's going to take you a while to gear up to be able to do current content.
And then that's one of my. I was thinking about it when I was driving back from feeding my daughter's cat. That's probably one of my biggest hangups with it. Like when we first started Final Fantasy, and we were just playing through the whole entirety of the game. It didn't. We never really hit that gear gate that much. You know what I mean? It wasn't. We never got to that point to where I can only get 400 tombstones a week, so I need to I have to do these. We never hit that level because it was going through the MSQ.
Well, yeah, the reason why was because like every day we were logging in, we were also running like whatever the current leveling roulettes and all that stuff. So we were farming tombstones along the way. Now, mind you, that was like allegory, so like that's like the standard ones.
It was the easy ones, not the ones that are gated.
Yeah, it's a standard one. So like constantly we're getting that level 60 gear and the level 70 gear and the level 80 gear and on up, right? Until finally we got to max level, which was Shadowbringers at the time. And then we started farming that stuff, and we were getting on and we were farming it weekly. We just had a really bad. I feel like you probably would have stuck with it if we had a better experience the first time we tried to get into a static.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we had people who claimed to be knowledgeable, and then they would blame everybody else for stuff, and it was just not a very fun experience. It just wasn't a fun experience.
And the passive aggressive replies.
Yeah. Yeah, it just wasn't very.
I don't think you guys really understand the game, and it's like, well, no, because we just started at the time. We were getting a lot of shit for like not knowing stuff, and we're like, dude, we just hit level 80 like a week or two ago.
Yeah,
what are you talking about? I mean, of course we don't know.
It wasn't enjoyable. So, and where like with World of Warcraft, I haven't hit that gear gate yet. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit easier for me to jump in and play that a little bit more than it is with Final Fantasy. Because right now I have to go and get the the weekly 400 to start to, which you have to do twice to get some pieces. 2 weeks.
Weekly 400 what?
The weekly 400 tombstones for like tombstone gear.
Oh, in Final Fantasy.
In Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
but I haven't, like I said, and that to me, after playing World of Warcraft, which I'm a virgin to World of Warcraft, it's actually a little off-putting. Like I didn't realize it was like as much like that until I went back, played Final Fantasy, and then switched over like today and was playing. So, they're both really good games. They both offer a different experience. You know what I mean? But they're both really, really good games.
Yeah. Like you definitely have a little bit of a gap to clear with Final Fantasy, but I I don't think it's like as bad as you probably think it's gonna be. You have to keep in mind too that we have like the Aglaya raid, right? I think that's how you say it, Aglaya, the 24 man, which is another place for you to be able to kind of go and get yourself like in current gear, because you have.
Is it one piece of gear a week?
The first one is unlocked, I believe. So the first one you can be able to like keep running it and get as many pieces that you want in a week. Remember how we used to get coins, and you'd use the coins to be able to upgrade some of the tome gear
from the near raids?
Yeah. So it's the same. It's the same thing. You get Aglaya coins. You get one from the first raid, one from the second raid, because they now have the second raid out. That's the one with Big Naturals Nafika.
Big Natty.
Yeah. And so with that, you're really set up. You're actually pretty set up decently well. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the first 24 man raid is probably like just under 600 gear. So yeah, so like you got some time and space. World of Warcraft is a little bit different. Hey, what's up, Tim? World of Warcraft is a little bit different because you don't really necessarily have that block that you do with Final Fantasy. Like initially, your focus is going to be just doing world quests, and you get gear from doing world quests, and then you're going to have heroic dungeons that you can go and run, which is just like base dungeons. Once you get that, then you can start running like the Mythic Plus, and then that's where you start kind of ramping up in the Mythic Plus difficulty.
Yeah, I'm actually looking a lot forward to it, and I'm going to get my Evoker to 70 first because it's the closest. But I enjoy playing the Hunter a lot more, and I also want to make a Sorceress. So it should be
Sorceress.
Sorcerer. I'm sorry. I'm thinking for some reason I don't know. Baldur's Gate. A mage. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Sorry, Baldur's Gate on the brain.
Mage and WoW is pretty fun.
Yeah. So, I just. Like I said, I'm a little, I wouldn't say hesitant to get back to Final Fantasy, but like I understand that it's going to be a little bit before I can catch up to the end of this patch, and hopefully I do before the next. Should have some time.
It's not as bad as you probably think it is. It'll probably take you a little bit less time. Especially, I mean, just hook up with like myself or Jackie or somebody, and everybody's always down to run dungeons.
I've tried to play with Jackie, and she's like, nope. She just like
that is. Wow, that is mean.
Yeah, she sent a video message of nope.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, thanks.
Ouch. Jeez,
yeah.
Sorry about that. You know what's funny? Like seeing Tim in the chat, I saw him like post something on Twitter, I believe, and then I looked at his Twitter page, and I don't think I've ever seen somebody follow as many podcasts as this guy does.
Oh, Timmy!
Like I like he's on everybody. He's on everybody's podcast. Yeah,
I've talked to him in every chat and every podcast.
That's what I'm saying. He makes his rounds. That's for sure.
That's right, Jackie. We are not even friends. See? Do you see it? It's in the chat. It's in print now. See? So
yeah. She just said it out loud.
She just said it out loud for everyone to hear.
That's funny. So. What do you think of some of the story that you've already gotten through so far? You finally got to meet Zero.
I did get to meet Zero, and you were actually screen watching while I was playing, and I had some questions, and you know, me being a like story nerd, you know what I mean? Like I will call out somebody for like poor like cheap writing, you know what I mean? Like a cheap item for in writing, but I got over that part of it. Zero is actually a pretty cool character. I like the fact that it's a 100% I don't give an F attitude about anything. You know what I mean? Like they're completely like, whatever about everything. Yeah. And then our character's like, you want to be friends? When we come help us, I'll let you suck out my energy. Come on now. And they're like, okay, I guess.
Yeah. Literal social vampire.
Yeah.
So it's a little jarring at first because it's like, you know, it takes a while for you to realize like they don't even understand like what friends are.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, okay, how do I explain this? Like we're cool. What does cool mean? Fuck. I don't know. We do things for each other without a contract. What?
Yeah.
And then they're like, I don't understand. How is that supposed to work?
Friends are not food.
Yeah, friends are not food. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So there's some really cool storytelling. I mean, the thing is that like I feel like typically like this is around the time that Final Fantasy starts kind of hinting at us like where we're gonna be going in the future. There is none of that here. There's no hinting unless it's like other dimensions, right? Or the other shards or reflections like this place is. But
I don't know. I haven't finished. Like I said, I haven't finished the second patch or the patch past this one. I mean, it looks like this patch. Did I finish this patch? I think I did finish this patch. Or do you fight all 4?
No.
Or does the other 2 in the next patch?
Correct. You'll have the other 2 in the next patch.
Okay. So yeah, I did. I finished this patch. Yeah. I don't know. Kind of like I watched everything. I mean, we even discussed like, you know, Xenos, is he dead? And they all say he's dead, but then they also say that the reason Zero looks like she does is because of Xenos. So I
wouldn't say that. She doesn't look like she does because of Xenos, because there's some stuff that you don't know about yet. So I'll leave that. I'll leave that at. Okay. But I am almost 100% positive-ish that Xenos is actually dead. Unless Xenos is going to become our new Hydaelyn, because he did eat like the rest of her. You know what I mean?
And who wouldn't? Did you see that, honey?
Yeah, mommy.
Yeah.
So like that's the only way that I could like that. What a weird plot twist that would be. It's like our new Hydaelyn is actually Xenos. Just like, our planet is now obsessed with us.
Yeah, no joke.
So yeah, no, I'm interested to see where they're going. We didn't really get to go over the patch notes that much before. But as you probably noticed, as somebody that hadn't logged in a long time, like this one, like they're getting really heavy the last few like patches with quality of life enhancements.
Yeah. I still like you saw when I tried to get gear. I still that's probably one of my big issues, and I wish they would figure a better way out. Like you like it's not like it's there, but it's not clearly visible for like your armory chest for me, because you know I'm like a hoarder of the things, like of all the things. I don't care what it is. It could be a rock I pick up off the ground or whatever.
I don't think it's a hoarder of all the things issue for you. I think what it is that you just have like your armory chest is out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, it is.
When you pick it up, you don't even realize how many items you've actually picked up. And I get in the same position where I'll go to pick something up and it's like, no, sorry, you're full. And I'm like, what the fuck?
You could run like dungeons with your friends, and then they could be like assholes and just like bail out, so you get stuck with that fucking loot automatically picking up. You know what I mean? Like they just jump out, and that never happens.
No, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and I mean, so I think it's kind of I don't know. You can look at it one way, like it's RP, I guess. For that to happen, to where you can't put on a piece of equipment because you don't have room to put the other equipment in your, you know what I mean, like that type of deal. So when you get an upgraded equipment, you can't even put it on because there's no room to put the old piece in the armory instead of back into the inventory.
Yeah,
like there's stuff like that they could work out, I think. I mean, I granted, I understand this is on an old
this is
engine.
a little wild. This is a little wild. Or you just actually clean up your fucking inventory.
No, you keep everything you touch. That's how it works.
Or you could just like clean up your inventory. You know, the issue is that like you don't play the game enough. So like usually like people that play a lot, like a lot of the gear that you're not using anymore, you're either going to disenchant or you're going to turn into your grand company for
those fucking ticket things.
Yeah, you get items and shit that you can buy off of there, like demateria and stuff like that for repairing equipment, or venture tokens to send out your retainers and stuff like that. So it's for me, like I don't have a problem keeping track of the inventory because I just go and like I'll fill it all up, and then I'll just go unload it all. I'll either sell it on the marketplace if I can sell it, and then I'll use the rest at the grand company to get rid of everything else that I have.
And also, like I said, I'd add in the armory chest. I would like them to. Maybe I don't see it, or I'm not understanding what I'm looking at completely. Is like I worry about selling shit that another character's already wearing. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Or
well, no, like
I have a job that I've started, but I didn't start leveling them up, and that's like gear for that class. That's happened to me too. You know what I mean? Like, so when I go to try to go back to that class, I can't use the class because I don't have gear for it.
Again, so this is one of those things, and actually Moon brings it up in the chat pretty well, which is like there's other storage that you're likely not using. Like you're probably not using your Chocobo saddle.
I am.
Your saddlebags.
It's full. I told you, I touch and keep. That's how it works. My precious. Yes, I keep it.
Oh my god. God, you're terrible. Yeah, so there's other places for you to put stuff.
Can I get a bigger saddle?
But the other thing, what I was gonna say is that like once you've actually saved a gear set to a character, like it has a little list icon, and it even warns you if you're trying to get rid of it. It's like, hey, by the way, this is saved to another character, or to another job. So it'll tell you like, hey, don't sell that because I think you're using this on somebody else. You go, shit.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the stuff that they're actually like. For me, honestly, here's the thing: if they are wearing it, it shouldn't be in the armory chest. Period. Just saying,
because it's on your character.
Because it's on that job. Like it should be attached to the job.
No,
stone
because
not it should be attached to the flipping job stone.
This is the guy that's talking about how you want to be lore accurate, and you're the motherfucker
that need more loot slots. That's it.
You're the one that's talking about.
More loot slots.
You're the one talking about being lore accurate, and you're like, but also my character is wearing like 8 pairs of clothes at the exact same time.
Okay, let me say you this, all right? So you got a screen, and it has your job stone, and you put your gear on it, and you just click that, and then that's that. It doesn't need to be in the armory.
How is that? How's that lore accurate? Is there just another version of yourself that you're pulling out of the void and you're just turning into that version?
The stone holds it. The stone holds it like a little magic wallet. Like a little magic wallet.
This is my little magic wallet. And we're going to talk about today's sponsor, Little Magic Wallet. Oh man.
Yeah, it's the quality of life stuff. Yeah, they do a lot of good quality of life stuff. There's some things that I'd still like to see.
I honestly, I saw this in some of the YouTube comments that were on the Final Fantasy versus World of Warcraft video, and one of the things that somebody actually brought up was how they do feel like Final Fantasy is getting closer to the World of Warcraft transmog system, because that would be baller. Because as it exists right now, they already have stuff where you can like demo how like stuff
it would look.
Yeah, you'll be able to demo how things look on you that are being sold in the store.
Yeah.
So if that already exists, where you can be able to do that like that, then we should be able to get into the position in which,
unless they coded it to a physical item, and you're just viewing what that item looks like. Do you understand what I'm saying? Instead of like it's physically attached to an object in the game, and not just like it's the skin. I don't know if that makes sense. Like because the way they do it now, so you put something in your wardrobe, right? It has to be in there to pull the skin from it. That's the way they have it now. That's what I'm saying. I wonder if it has to be an asset. You understand what I'm saying?
So like, and here's the thing: I'm actually okay if like they have a system in which like you actually have to like store the asset, but it's like not actually stored. Like destroy the asset to keep the asset, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with stuff like that, where it's just permanently attached to. But the thing that World of Warcraft really kills it on is that like once one of my characters touches it,
everyone's got it.
They all of my characters have it, which is really something that's it's something that WoW hasn't done for a long time, because they usually haven't done a whole lot of like cross account progression. It's usually just been everything's on one character, and if you want to get those same things, you need to you have to do all that stuff over again on another character, which is obviously a pain in the ass.
Which, you know, and for me, what WoW provides with that is I don't have to hold on to it. You know what I mean? Like, so once I get it, I'll sell it now, because
Moon actually says that the last hiring that they did was actually for UI developers, so that's good. That's good.
That is great. That is actually great.
You know, another one of the criticisms that I saw in some of the YouTube comments was that that Final Fantasy's like UI, like they're talking about like Eastern MMOs and whatnot, about how like they just have some of the most clunkiest UIs. I really don't feel like it's that big of a difference between this and World of Warcraft.
I do.
Really?
Yeah, I do. And honestly, you have to look at it this way. You've been in that UI for so long that you're comfortable with it. You understand what I'm saying? You've come to know where everything is. Like me coming back into it after not playing it for months, I literally had to do a lot of like, okay, where's this? Where's this? Where's this? It's not very intuitive.
I mean, the same can be said for World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
M for map is to both M for map is to both in both games. L for your log or your quest is the same thing. I for inventory is the same thing. P for skills is the same thing.
It took me 8 minutes to figure out how to queue for a dungeon in WoW today, this morning. I was like, where do I queue for a dungeon? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the dungeon finder, whatever it is.
Yeah, I found it.
So, I mean, like, and the thing is, and now I think about it, for the most part, most things are held with, except for the difference between, like, how Party Finder is split off from the Dungeon Finder UI. So, like, in World of Warcraft, that's an all-in-one thing. In Final Fantasy, you can bring up your Duty Finder, but that's only for really automatic queues or unless you already have a group together. If you want to do Party Finder, you have to go to a separate menu for that to be able to find that kind of stuff. So I do agree that there is some like inconsistencies and a little bit of like, there's a lot of work that they still need to do on the UI. That's for sure. They're definitely making really good headway. Being able to see everybody's buffs like that's a really great thing for like a raider like me.
Like, does it? Okay, so if Final Fantasy does change it to where you touch it, you have the transmog for it. That would obviously, well, it doesn't obviously. It kind of like what is it? The prisms that you have to put something in the wardrobe.
Yes, glamour prisms. Yeah.
Like, what is the actual purpose of that other than something else no, I wouldn't say farm, but something else to collect to use. If they go to that other deal, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, no, I would imagine like that stuff probably goes away. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like glamour dispellers and stuff like that. Probably just ways to waste gil and other resources. Yeah. I mean, you have to keep in mind that like these are things that didn't even exist in the game when it first came out anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's on such an old age. Both these games are on such old engines. Like, I think once Final Fantasy does kind of, go up, I think a lot of these stuff they're gonna be able to do a lot more stuff with this quality of life, at least.
Yeah. The game's it's just gonna get better and better and better as time goes on. And that was like obviously with the video, that was also like what I was trying to express in regards to World of Warcraft. I think finally WoW is now in the headspace where they're going to start to pay attention to what players want. They realized that they lost a lot of money to Final Fantasy over the last year.
Yeah, they did. They surely did.
So obviously they are like last like 2 years, I guess, basically ever since 2020.
Yeah. Shadowbringers kind of kicked the out of that Shadowlands.
Shadowbringers definitely beat the crap out of Shadowlands, and Endwalker is still being quite the titan over Dragonflight. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like both games are in a really good space, and it's freaking awesome for MMO players. Things are just getting better and better.
Yeah, it is. It is awesome for MMO players.
Yeah.
Like you're not. No one is losing from playing one or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with Moon here, by the way, which is that 7.0 is like the dream right now, because it's like we just do not know. Like, they've just wrapped up a 10-year story. So honestly, like even though 7.0 is something that I'm really hopeful about, also at the same time it's something that I'm also kind of a little nervous about, because it's like, where are you going to go with this? Where are you going to take this story? And then what are you going to do to the game? I mean, obviously, we do know that we're going to see graphical improvements in the next expansion, but like, what else?
Well, so right now, these patches they're pulling stuff from what, Final Fantasy IV? What you said?
Well, that's like the 24-man raid series, I think. No, it is the story. Sorry, yeah, that is MSQ. MSQ is pulling from Final Fantasy IV.
So they've got a swath of games to go
Right.
from.
Golbez,
I think so. I think he's Final Fantasy IV, but they have a swath of games to pull from if they want to stay within that type of deal. But I mean, do you want it to constantly be callback stories, or do you want something fresh and hot? You know what I mean? Hot and ready.
True. Yeah, I don't.
So,
I don't know. I just don't know exactly where they plan on pulling. The awesome thing is for Final Fantasy is they have so many great stories to pull from, and they don't actually they don't. And here's the thing: they're not pulling it word from word. You know what I mean? All they're doing is just taking the characters.
Yeah.
They're taking the characters and they're giving them a reimagining within the world of Final Fantasy XIV, which is super cool. And they've even done it with like an event with like Noctis from Final Fantasy XV.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I would like to see them do crossovers with Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII. We see plenty with Final Fantasy XII already. They did a lot of that kind of stuff in Final Fantasy.
All right, so let's do a super nerd conversation about Final Fantasy. Super nerd conversation, okay? Because you're asking where they're going to go, and we're basing it off just this patch, right? This last patch. Let's look at the bigger scale. So, how many crystals are left that aren't completely like jacked up?
Oh man,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that story really paints them in a corner of what they can do narratively.
Does it though? Because
I think it does.
We literally traveled through space.
Yep, and time. I get it.
So I wouldn't say they painted themselves into a corner. You know what I mean? And also, plus on top of that, like, you also have to realize that, like, even if we go back to like A Realm Reborn, right? At one point in time, the world was basically ended and we were thrown back in time. So, like, they could do anything. It's Final Fantasy. They could just knock us into it. They could literally just like, oh man, something exploded, and then we got blown into a freaking an aether rift, and now we are in a completely different parallel universe.
Yeah,
I like anything. They could do anything they want to do. And honestly, with the storytelling that they've had over the last 10 years, and just like the consistency of most Final Fantasy game stories, I actually have a lot of faith that they'd still be able to make it consistent and pull it off. That it's not just some crazy shark jump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, to me, time travel is probably it's the easiest get out of free jail card you can have for in writing in general. But, like I said, I also don't want the game to end either. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so go through time. If we gotta go through time, let's go through time.
That was another discussion that I had seen before that some people are like, oh, well, they're going to get ready. There's a lot of people that believe Final Fantasy XVII is going to be the next MMO. Because they're like, well, look, Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XIV, 3 more games would be Final Fantasy XVII. We figured it out, guys. We understand the Square Enix and Illuminati. Like, that's not how that shit works. And plus, on top of that, you have to realize that Final Fantasy XIV is in the peak of its life at the moment, right? Final Fantasy XI's fan base was not nearly as strong as Final Fantasy XIV's in its current form.
And it's still being played, though.
Final Fantasy XI is still being played. And if they ever did move away from Final Fantasy XIV, this game still would be played as well. However, there's no way they're going to shoot themselves in the foot and go develop another MMO already. Will they do it? Will they make another one? Eventually, yes, they will. But it's just not. Honestly, I feel like it's more likely that what we're going to see is we're going to see Yoshida finish Final Fantasy XVI, which they're already starting to send people back to Final Fantasy XIV from the 16 team because they're pretty much done.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go to Final Fantasy XIV. They're going to finish the expansion, the next expansion, 7.0. Then those people will leave again probably and start working on another Final Fantasy mainline series, as long as Final Fantasy XVI goes on without a hitch and becomes and does really well.
Yeah, no, Moon. I haven't finished the second one. He has. I'm gear gated right now, and I'm working towards getting to the second this last patch. So
Yeah. Yeah.
please don't spoil it for me.
Yeah, he is one patch behind because he's a filthy casual.
I am. I will gladly say that I am a casual.
Filthy casual. So
No, I'm a clean casual, and you will respect that.
So as I am now finished with raiding in Final Fantasy XIV, I've finished this current raid tier, so I am done. Which means I can hang up my boots for a little while and go play some other stuff. I might end up like just taking like a short break and then working on an ultimate, I think. I don't know yet. It just depends on how much time I want to commit to it. But I think I'm going to put a little bit more effort and interest into World of Warcraft and maybe some other games for a little while. Just broadening my scope and opinions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's either that or I could go work on my like Adventure Island. I mean, I do kind of want those shorts. They're kind of cute.
Yeah.
It's all about trying to make. It's all about trying to make my
just
bunny
for
grow
mental health.
good.
I think you need a break. So you can go play something else.
What are you talking about?
Just something else, just to cleanse the palate.
Cleanse the
You know
palate.
what I mean? Cleanse the palate.
I mean, glam
Cleanse it.
Glam is
And then
life,
you take.
though.
Oh, anyway, so anybody in the chat, so this dude left me standing in a city for over an hour, recording us for an hour while he is changing glams. And I'm like, finally at like 45 minutes, I'm like, are we gonna do anything? He's like, oh yeah, my bad. That's all he did. Just glams.
I wouldn't listen to him. He's a liar.
Just glams.
He's a liar. He's a liar. There actually is. I don't know if I still have it, but yeah, I have footage of where he's like asking me, he's like, hey, you ready to do this dungeon? And I'm like, yeah. Just a minute. And literally about like 45 minutes goes by, and it's literally just me and the glamour dresser trying on like the same like 2 outfits over and over again to see if I should change the color or not. But yeah, it'd be like that.
Oh,
what is it?
yeah,
Moon,
I woke up
Moon
at
said,
3 o'clock.
Moon says
No.
Yoshi P said that he wanted to make another MMO before he dies. Yeah. Actually, I brought that up in a previous video of mine. I think my first video on Final Fantasy XIV. I did a video on that where I pretty much just went over and discussed the team for Final Fantasy XVI. And I discussed the article where he had referenced and said, you know, he wants to make his own MMO before he dies, which I would imagine is a Final Fantasy MMO. I think really what he wants to do is he really wants to, you know, like start one from the ground up. And I think like what we're going to see with Final Fantasy 16 is we're going to see what he's really capable of doing when it's just him by himself working on a game. Not by himself. You and I, you know what I mean? Like he's starting a game from the ground up. So if Final Fantasy 16 does really well, obviously that's going to give even more confidence in Yoshida, which then increases the chance that they're going to have him, you know, build one from the ground up eventually. I think the same way.
I think 16 will do well. Like, are you talking just financially or just like critically?
Oh, both probably. I think
financially, I don't
probably,
think it's not going to do as well as it could. Obviously, like it being
well, yeah, because they limited it to PlayStation.
Yeah, they limited it to just PlayStation, and as much as PlayStation people like to say that they're JRPGers, we'll see. You know what I mean? So we'll see if they.
So we'll have to figure. I would actually need to look to see where the majority of majority of PlayStation owners are. If it's the US, then maybe you're right. If it's not the US, then that's a different story. If there's really high numbers in Eastern countries, then yes, Final Fantasy 16 is going to sell like hotcakes.
I'm hoping it does well for them.
Hotcakes. No, critically it's going to do fantastic. I'm not worried about that part. I think critically it's going to do great. It'll probably earn a few awards at the Game Awards next year. But yeah, we'll see.
All right, so Moon asks, or she says that the Final Fantasy 14 patches are like an expansion of WoW Tour, or them.
No, their name is Monte Cristo.
Oh, sorry,
I just realized that.
Oh, okay, Monte Cristo. Which I would disagree. The patches to me in Final Fantasy aren't as big, like scale wise as an expansion in WoW. But, I mean, like the WoW expansions are just they're I would equal those to a Final Fantasy expansion, but the patches, I think the patches are nice because it continues the story where it ends and it walks you up to the next expansion, which is kind of nice. It's like a good service to have to kind of see where the next expansion is going to be at story wise. Um, but yeah, I think the WoW expansions are they're just a lot bigger. I mean, they're just a lot bigger than a patch is. Monte
Hold on.
Cristo.
What are you trying to say? Why? I just saw like the first like 3 letters or 4 letters. So here's the deal. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily like I feel like the World of Warcraft expansion when it first drops, its size is probably a little bit larger in content to Final Fantasy. However, Final Fantasy's patches are larger in content than World of Warcraft's patches.
Like all the patches, yeah, okay, or patch to patch, okay.
Yeah, patch to patch. Like
Okay.
a Final Fantasy
fair.
14, a Final Fantasy 14 patch is typically pretty hefty. There's usually some like I mean, you think about it. Think about some of the stuff that they've brought in like the patches of 6.0, right? So you have your island expedition or whatever it is, like your whole like island that you have to yourself that you get to build and grow things on and capture animals and do all this stuff. Like that came in a patch. We had Crystalline Conflict. Which is a whole new revamp on PvP and a whole new PvP, style.
I'm so sorry, Monte Cristo. I'm so sorry, Monty. I'm so sorry.
I didn't want to say it, but it was the second that you said she, and I was like, "How do you know?"
I
was like, "What is wrong with you?"
Just because, like, if you just like most people who have like Moon in their deal as their first one, like for some reason my brain,
I probably wouldn't make that assumption.
Genders it female.
You are really trying to get canceled today.
I am.
Good
Sorry.
job.
Sorry for assuming.
And once again, guys, this is now the Just Ian Gaming Podcast. I am looking for a new co-host starting today. So please, by all means, you guys are welcome to hit me up on Twitter with your application, and we will see, what we can get going.
Sorry, I had to.
Oh man. So anyway, dude, I've been really happy with Final Fantasy. I've been really happy with the patches lately, but I do want to like touch a little bit on World of Warcraft before we completely move on. How much longer do you think we have until until you and I are actually running dungeons together?
I would probably guess our game night we're gonna be playing games. I'm going to finish. I'm at level 69.
By the way, I like how you worded that. You're like, I'm pretty sure on our game night we're gonna be playing games.
We're gonna be actually running dungeons on World of Warcraft. I'm halfway through level 69. So 69.
I actually genuinely hope so. So one of the things that I was gonna bring up to you is that on Wednesdays, I mean, I know you usually have work, but on Wednesdays, I actually have been enjoying myself doing a Wednesday raid group. It's just a bunch of like beer dads just killing bosses. It's been great. I mean, there's a lot of personal responsibility. They'll give you the boot scoot if you don't, play properly and do what you need to. But I mean, when you play a game that uses DBM, it's pretty hard not to do the right thing when it just flashes in big bold letters on top of your screen. And then also has, it literally has text to speech that says, dodge lasers. So like when people die and they're like, I don't know, man, I didn't see it. And it's like the raid leader will literally call out and he'll be like, it said it across your screen. Well, I don't have DBM. Then you're out of the raid. I can't blame them. Like, I get it.
That's honestly one of my biggest knocks on World of Warcraft is the dungeons. I like how open they are versus the linear feel of Final Fantasy, but the boss fights in Final Fantasy are far superior to. Like I have yet to fight a boss in World of Warcraft and go, holy shit, that was cool. You know what I mean? It's just been like,
here's the thing.
It's just a bigger model. Let's keep clicking my buttons. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, that and like, I kind of brought this up in the video originally, which is that like Final Fantasy just does a better job of making like boss attacks and enemy attacks more recognizable.
Yeah, they do.
The issue, like there's some cool shit. Like I like Airnog here. Like I this fight's really cool. I think there's some really cool mechanics to it. In general, I really liked it, but it's just there's so much like visual obscurity in World of Warcraft and that's the reason why they necessitate add-ons, because you just honestly can't tell with the naked eye like what is actually like what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
like you really have no idea, because there's a lot of their stuff is all like it's all like ground displayed abilities, and the same thing goes for like heals. Like, look here, you have a heal here. Like it's so easy for this to be able to get covered up by other AoEs from the boss. Maybe you see it and it's like it depends on the color of the floor, and you could get it confused with something else and think it's a boss attack and completely avoid an AoE. Like there's just a lot of stuff that goes. There's a lot of stuff that goes wrong. So I honestly, I think add-ons is like one of the reasons that like World of Warcraft always turns me off. Like I really am enjoying the game right now, but fuck, I hate having to have like 7 or 8 add-ons just to play the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I got destroyed in the dungeon that I ran this morning. I woke up at 3 a.m. and started playing World of Warcraft until like 9:30. And I went and did a dungeon, and I think the other DPS was a monk, and I'm doing like 400 something K damage. I'm like second. I'm like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. And then I look up, and that son of a gun's doing like 1.2 million. I'm like, well, thanks for the carry, buddy.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's pretty quick. Like, dude, there's actually in this raid that I'm showing on the screen right now, like there's another monk that is in this like in this raiding group that like on almost all fights just like torches me, and I'm sitting there like, how? Like, what am I doing? Like I'm still having a hard time figuring out like what I'm doing wrong. It's really weird because like World of Warcraft's combat is not like Final Fantasy's, in that like World of Warcraft, it's more like a priority system than it is a rotation. Like you always want to make sure you're getting these certain abilities out every single time, because if you don't, then you're letting DPS fall. Because like if you have 1 or 2 like super hard hitting attacks, you want to make sure those things are basically always on cooldown. You don't want a second or a few other attacks to go off before you get that thing out. However, like I'm playing Monk right now, like there's a rotation that I want to get in there before I get like one of my big attacks off, because it actually boosts the damage of that attack. So it's really just trying to figure out how to min-max properly and try to like, get as much damage out of a fight as you possibly can. I can't really say, I don't know, like I would actually probably say in some ways I actually really do like World of Warcraft's combat better, mostly because of the fact that it's not like, so you didn't really get too far into Final Fantasy like rating or anything, but when you do, you eventually realize that like everything's on a 2-minute rotation. Everything.
Yeah.
Like Mark, that for Red Mage, you are always going to cast the same spells in the same order for 2 minutes, and then that 2-minute timer will start over, and you're going to be casting those same spells all over again, because you have these 2-minute burst windows, right? So there is no change. There's no difference. The only thing that would make a difference is if there's like phase shifts inside of a boss fight where the boss becomes untargetable, or there's an ad phase or something like that. Then that might switch up your rotation. But outside of that, it's always going to be the same.
And get rezzed, and then you have to start all over again. So, yeah.
Oh my God. So
and Jackie, if you didn't know, my middle name is Gus. So that's what we're doing.
Is it?
Just saying. No, it's not, but
That'd be kind of cool.
It is today. Yeah.
Anyway,
Mark Gus.
Mark Gus. Hey, boy. So yeah, I actually think, and this is the other thing, and I didn't really get to bring it up in the video, and I feel like eventually I'm going to make another one. I'll make another Final Fantasy versus World of Warcraft video. I don't know how. I don't want to like do it too soon after this one, obviously. But I will want to do one eventually, and
I think you should do a
format.
PvP versus PvP, just a straight up PvP.
Yeah, but that's
PvP.
that's just a solid fucking win on World of Warcraft. There's just nothing to compare.
You got to let them win some, right?
Well, no, there's plenty for World of Warcraft to win in the conversation.
Yeah.
It's just like figuring out how I would format it so that they would come out as the majority victor on that side. But really, I'll tell you the one thing that World of Warcraft does better than Final Fantasy in all means, and you can't. I would love to hear somebody try to refute this.
I'm going to. Let's do this.
World of Warcraft has far better class identity than Final Fantasy.
Yes, 100%.
Because Final Fantasy, all the tanks outside of maybe we'll say Gunbreaker, they all basically feel the same. It's your 3 attack rotation with a couple of moves thrown in. It's all this exact same shit over and over again. And I tell you this, a bear druid tank doesn't feel like a warrior, and a warrior doesn't feel like a paladin. Like, they play so vastly different between all of the different tanks, all of the different healers, all of the different DPS, that like every class does have its unique identity. Where like Final Fantasy, as it's going on, things are getting more and more and more homogenized, where it's just like every class feels the same. It's the same rotation for every class, and like Summoner, Summoner feels neutered. Like, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it because it's fucking smooth brain. But
and I think, but we've had this conversation before, and I think that has to do with the game being probably, I wouldn't say most, but it's probably got a large community that plays on controller on PlayStation. You know what I mean?
I would agree with that. I would agree that there is probably a pretty decent amount of like creative class decisions, like how they build classes and how classes execute skills, is probably based off of controller players.
Yeah.
And I wonder like how much that limits their creativity when it comes to this game.
I think it does a lot.
You know what I mean? Because like the same thing goes for like their graphical updates. Every time they make a graphical update, they have to think of whether or not this is actually going to be able to be used on console.
PlayStation 3.
4. Well, no,
3.
3's. I'm pretty sure they're going to walk away from 3 and 7.0. I can't remember.
Okay, well, they're going to have to, because like I don't think anybody's still. Well, you know what? There's probably people still playing it on their PlayStation 3. To be honest with you. So
yeah, and it's just like it genuinely feels like every single expansion classes get easier and easier. Astrologian does actually need like a rework and some love, but I guarantee you that Astrologian in 7.0 is going to become like the easiest, most dead brain class to play.
Good, I'll go back to playing Astrologian.
Yeah, I bet.
But so to add to your point, not to get you too sidetracked, I think what WoW does better with their characters, like you said, they do feel unique. But I also have the option of taking my tank and making him a DPS and still using that tank, but not as a tank. Do you understand what I'm saying? I still get to use that character in a different job, so to speak, with the same skills, or altered skills and newer skills and different skills.
So I get what you're saying. That's just because, like, again, that goes back to the idea of class identity. That's because there's other builds that are available. There's skill trees.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Imagine having customization over your class.
Yeah.
Whoa. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Not you hit this level and here's your skill for this level.
But I like there's certain things like when I start thinking about this stuff and I'm like, man, I wish Final Fantasy did this, and I wonder if the accessibility of Final Fantasy, ease of play, and lack of like farming that's necessary. Like there's not like 50 different gear sets that could end up getting different roles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wonder if like the game being that way is the reason for its success. I mean, outside of the story, right? I mean, the story is a very large chunk of why Final Fantasy is popular, or why it's a good game.
Hey Monty, why do you think you think it's for the casuals? Okay, that's fair. I mean that is fair. I mean, Ian played in his first like adult I'll call it adult static into his adult life into Final Fantasy. He was in there with a healer that actually played on controller.
Yep.
And
so, then she also played on fucking Twitter and flamed me every day.
Yeah,
like,
she had. Yeah, not only was she
threats.
good at running the rage, she's also good at running her mouth. So, yeah, no, like to me, oh man, like I tried it on controller and it like I feel like I needed an extra finger. I don't know if that makes sense because of all the tabbing through. Because like you get I think it's 16 buttons total with just the one setting without tabbing into the next line of settings, the next controller setup, right? And it doesn't to me it doesn't feel very good. But I can see, as like I said, it being a console game, it has to play on a controller. They have to make it be able to be played on a controller.
Yeah, which is going to limit the amount of skills that they have, which I'm fine with that. Like I don't like skill bloat, and
yeah,
I feel like World of Warcraft has a bit of skill bloat.
Yeah, it does. It does have skill bloat, and there's plenty of skills that I rarely use, and then honestly, it's probably around eight to nine skills that I permanently use like nonstop. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean it does. But they do have a lot of situational skills that you like will only use in that situation, like only that specific situation. And even then, by then, I have forgotten that I even had that skill, so I've never used it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So man, I'm interested to see the future for both Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft because like they're currently on a really good path. I would actually guess to say that Final Fantasy is on the more rockier one, where like World of Warcraft is on the upswing right now, where they're actually doing a lot of stuff and listening to their players. I mean, don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy on the average listens to their players far more. The only thing that like the things that really worry me for Final Fantasy's future is like the continued like homogenization of classes, where they just continue to get dumbed down, watered down, and easy, where you really can't tell the difference between having a white mage or an astrologian or having a sage or a scholar, or any tanks or anything like that. You know, other than like other than what their DPS numbers look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with the astrologian, what really irritates me about the changes that they made with them, like I feel like they lessened the importance or the utility of the cards. I mean, I guess they made it easier. Like I don't know. I kind of like the way, I don't know.
The card system is better. It's still not perfect, but the card system is better because the card system now you're not required to get all these specific seals in an order to make sure that you can use a divination and give your team the max the max buff.
But that was part of the fun of it, though. You know what I mean? For me, that was part of the fun of it. Oh shit, yes, I got it. Instead of like, oh, I'm always going to get it.
No, that's a shit take because you think about it, like they made it instead where now it's a personal thing rather than you affecting the entire group, like the entire group's damage. And making it RNG whether or not the entire party can clear a fight, because sometimes that's what those buffs can come down to. Instead, now it's just a personal buff. It's whether or not my personal buff that I can use will increase my spell speed and all these other things.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Fair, I guess.
Because like you still get a full reward of getting all the seals. You haven't played Astro in a long time, but you can still get the full reward of getting all the seals.
Shit.
But it's a personal buff that you get rather than one that affects the DPS of the entire party. Which that could literally sway and swing an entire fight on whether or not to kill a boss. Really, really good example is with P8S is that like initially like there was like we're talking our first couple of clears before we were all geared. I mean there was like a 2% damage window. Like we had to make sure everybody was alive. We had to make sure there were no deaths. We had to make sure that we didn't get any like damage downs or anything like that, and we had to make sure that everybody was using their buffs and getting them when they needed to.
Yeah. Imani says, I guess WoW can't be balanced because you have too many specs and buffs. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know enough to speak intelligently on that, but I mean, I do know in Final Fantasy, if you're fucking party wipes while you're killing in a boss fight, as long as there's a warrior in there, they can fucking one-man that thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know how balanced that is.
That's dungeons, though. They can't do that in a raid.
But you know what I'm saying? Like it's, I mean, like while our Final Fantasy's characters aren't as perfectly balanced either. There for some reason when they'll do a large nerf or buff or whatever, there always ends up being a meta character to play.
Yeah, you know, one of the biggest problems for World of Warcraft is when they make changes like buffs and nerfs to characters. It's usually inside of PvP, and then it ends up affecting PvE.
Yeah, which is one of the things I hate about Destiny.
Yeah, so, Destiny's a really good example of doing that, where they nerf weapons because they're too strong in PvP. But it's like, well, I don't even play PvP. Like, I was just enjoying using that weapon for PvE. Yeah. So yeah, no. When it comes to things like class balance, like, man, talk about a difficult tightrope to walk. You know what I mean?
It is like anytime you try to innovate, you're constantly anything you change is going to affect that. You know what I mean? It's gonna affect your balance in your game.
It's just like I would really like to see the balance somewhere between World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy. Like a little bit of homogenization so that your class always has like a core in the middle of it for you to like a constant rotation that like helps you keep everything on track and in line, but still has enough min-max optimization for you to be able to have fun and be creative with your class. And also skills and abilities that genuinely make it feel different and have a different effect on the battlefield. You know what I mean? Where like you have some classes where it's like, you know, they don't even provide like buffs or anything like that. Or you'll have an example like Dancer that deals like no damage at all but has a ton of buffs. You know what I mean? Where it's like, man, it'd be really nice to have one, but but sometimes like in certain content they can be a detriment because they just don't provide enough damage to clear fights.
Yeah. And I wish WoW had slide casting. Because after playing Final Fantasy with my red mage and then hopping back over, I was having a lot of problems with this invoker because I have 2 or 3 skills that I have to stand there and let them do their thing.
They don't have a slide cast window. They don't have that like that little bit of lag tick window that you can take advantage of. That is for sure.
Take advantage of, yeah. I just honestly, and I don't know how many times I've said this to you. I don't know how many times I've said this on this podcast. Like, help me with the black mage, Yoshi. You know what I mean? You're making everything else a 3 fucking button rotation. Help me out. It's my favorite character.
It's also his.
I know.
That's why do you think why do you think he doesn't change it?
So hardcore. He's like, well, I'm the best, so I'm going to keep it like this so no one can catch up. That's what it boils down to. That's what I feel like it is. He is black mage gating everyone. That's what he's doing.
That is funny. That's a funny way to look at it. Oh, I forgot. One of the things that I was going to do during this podcast was I was going to actually make sure that instead of just having like our voices, I was going to add a little something extra to the background. And I forgot all about it. There we go. I fixed it. I was going to have a little bit of tavern music playing in the background to make it a little bit more of an enjoyable experience. So I feel like this...
Do we need like big like wooden mugs when we drink?
So I feel like this is a great time for me to go into story time. Okay. So what we're going to do today, boys and girls, is we're going to talk about some of the comments that were said on my last video.
Oh my God. Oh no.
You know, get your cocoa or your tea, and let's read a couple of these and see just what some of the community's takes are on Final Fantasy versus World of Warcraft. Let us begin. Looking at looking at the first one that we have on here, yeah, for beer wenches. Let's see here. I had the same experience. This character here says I had the same experience with WoW. I was a new player in World of Warcraft, and I told the party that, and because I felt it was the right thing to do, let everybody know that. You know, I this is my first time running something. If they wanted to give me some advice, and they kicked me out. Sorry, friend. That is the way that World of Warcraft works, because they are somehow believing that they have a less toxic community than Final Fantasy. Here's the news: they're both toxic, just in their own special little way.
You know what? You know what's weird is within Final Fantasy, within the game, they're not as toxic. Outside of the game, they're kind of toxic.
Yeah.
So.
Here we go. For me, it's not even a challenge. WoW is for me. I have played, or should I have started, many single-player Final Fantasy games, and not a single one ever gripped me. I want to like the Final Fantasy franchise, but it just doesn't let me. Interesting way to say that. The main issue is the graphics. I hate manga. I absolutely despise them. It's unfortunately FFXIV uses a similar graphics, and it's just not Final Fantasy, by the way. I have similar problems with all Asians.
I cannot believe you read that. Okay. Oh my god.
I didn't know that's where it was going.
Oh my god. Well, sorry.
I didn't know that's where it was going.
Sorry you feel that way about a specific type of people.
No, I'm kidding. I ad-libbed that last part. He says, I have similar problems with all Asian games that use that style of graphics. No, homie, I'm pretty sure you just don't like Asian stuff in general. It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You don't have to enjoy everything.
Do you want some Chinese food tonight? Hell no. I ain't eating that. General what chicken? Get out of here.
Let's see here. I would disagree and say WoW does not hold your hand, and that's partly why why people left and have complained all these years. Not hand holding isn't always a bad thing. WoW had a good story before Blizz just stopped skipping every damn thing that we know already. That's a word. WoW also gave its characters a graphical update, which it does have, and I can see that. WoW's
Dragonflight looks really good.
It does. WoW's animations are like that because it's cartoon style. I once approached a dungeon entrance, in Final Fantasy XIV, but WoW does it the same way. You never have to go to the dungeon entrances, just without flight paths and stuff, which is true. You can use the party finder or the group finder in World of Warcraft to automatically queue. However, if you are doing a raid or if you are doing a mythic dungeon, you do have to be teleported to the entrance or inside of the dungeon to be able to partake in it. So there is travel involved. It's not just an instant queue with everything that you do in World of Warcraft. Let's see here. There's been a few good ones that oh, here we go. Who is this one? Oh, it says, nothing says new player friendly like 600 hours of campaign filled with boring, tedious quests and hours of reading quest text. This is some of the worst takes that I've seen on World of Warcraft in a long time. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
So I would like to speak to this because I do enjoy Final Fantasy story. I personally do too also have a problem with Final Fantasy not being fully voice acted, but they do have a lot of voice acted parts. WoW's voice acting parts are generally just a, maybe 1.5 minute, 2 minute video of something cool. But for the rest of the part, it's just, you'll hear people talking, they'll just be talking outside of the building. And to Ian's point, they sound like Muppet characters. It sounds like, what is it? LARPing. It feels like I'm LARPing is what it feels like.
It does.
But where Final Fantasy Final Fantasy story-wise is superior, I think personally. Its storytelling is superior to World of Warcraft because I don't have to go search for it. It gives it to me as I do my MSQ. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have to go somewhere else to get it. I can get the gist of it while doing that. True, honestly, it does bother me that not all of it is voice acted, but it's not the end of the world.
I think there's something to be said to make it optional. And by mean optional, I mean not pay for it to be optional. There are people that want to play a game that genuinely just want to get to the end game or want to get to the dungeons or whatever they want to do, and they don't want to play the story. I don't think those people should actually have to pay, and that's the only way for them to get around it is to pay for a story skip. I don't think that that's fair. I think if you don't want to partake in the story, that's fine. There should be another way for you to be able to level and be able to unlock the other expansions and the other expansions content without actually having to do the story. I think both games deserve having the option. I think World of Warcraft is good in its way that it has now, where you can do the side quest leveling and the campaign leveling, even though the campaign thing kind of sucks. But I feel like they should be able to still allow that, but I feel like they should also craft something very specific, a very specific World of Warcraft experience that really gives players an idea of like what World of Warcraft is all about, why are they here in this world, what is the point of this game, and then, you know, something that like really gently brings them into the next expansion, teaches them mechanics, teaches them the lore, all that kind of stuff. I think having the option to do either or is the best thing for both sides. That's kind of the whole thing. Like anytime you're creating a game or a game experience, being able to give the player as many options as possible for how they want to experience the game, especially in an MMO, because this is an RP, right? Like you want to experience it in the way that you want to experience it, and allowing players the ability to do that is just going to make your game more successful in the long run.
No, I would fully 100% agree. Like if it was given a choice, and it should, and I understand what the attraction to both of them are, and the people who do choose WoW generally they want to get to the end game. They're not. They just want to get there, play, level up, get to the end game, and go play it. And like I said, Final Fantasy leads more to the story, and then most people, like a lot of the community, ERP, right? So, yeah, they're just two different products, but like I said, like what I was looking for specifically, I mean, I can get where they said they don't want to do that, and not having an option does kind of suck. So
yeah. Oh, here we go. We got another one right here. I feel like 14 is I feel like 14 and to a lesser extent, WoW has evolved from being an MMORPG. I mean, for fuck's sake, Final Fantasy XIV added a feature that lets you run dungeons with AI party members now. I mean, what is the point of being an MMO if all of the content can be done solo? And it's not even a challenge. It's just normal difficulty solo. I'll just add a list of criticisms that I have that drove me to quit Final Fantasy XIV. Empty, pointless, open world areas. It's just random packs of monsters wandering around, none of which pose any challenge to anyone within 5 levels within them. Sorry.
Name one MMO that does not have that.
It's the same for all MMOs. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay.
I'll agree with that. Pointless crafting. unless you want to play dress up in the glamour system, crafted gear is always the same raid is always the same or inferior to same level dungeon gear or raid gear. Excuse me, crafted gear is always inferior to same level raid and dungeon gear. Well, that's a flat out lie. What is the damn point of putting stats into those items if they're never going to be as good as something you can do a couple raid finder runs for? That is also bullshit. There's also bullshit. That whole line is bullshit. Actually, at the very start of an expansion, crafters are rolling in cash because the best gear you can possibly use to start a new raid tier is the current crafted set, or the last set's dungeon gear. So, like him saying that's complete bullshit. Like that. I mean, that just tells me you never raided before.
Well, I mean, if he's coming from WoW, I mean, they have a lot more avenues to get gear than Final Fantasy does. So that's probably his hang up on it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, there's all kinds of
it crafted.
There's a lot of different avenues, right? But and then so their next point is worthless money and economy. They say that Final Fantasy XIV they kept getting paid gil for finishing quests, and they had nothing to spend on it. Maybe consumables made by chefs or like potions, none of which I ever needed. I did the most hardest savage raids, so again, pointless. I never needed that stuff. Okay, so right there, guys, that is the admission of a liar. Because I'm sorry, if I caught you in my raid not potting and not eating food, you're gone. You think that stuff is useless? There has been, I can't even tell you how many times that a boss should have died that didn't die specifically because of the fact people weren't eating food or using pots. It is 1000% necessary to use those things. And there are tons of things to use gil on. You can use them on housing if you have the chance to actually buy it. You can use them on buying things that other crafters make if you're not making it yourself, like gear sets. You can use it on glamour like they had mentioned. You can use it on consumables like they had mentioned as well. There are mounts that you can buy using gil. And then obviously like teleporting. I would say that, yeah, there are some stuff that like they probably could make some gil sinks for, because like there's going to be a little bit of like financial bloat. But to say that like the economy's that terrible, that's not okay. Also on top of that, what game have you ever played that you're like, I'm going to quit because this economy?
The economy's bad.
That damn economy.
Willware said the best neck in WoW is a crafted item.
Gamefire says they're watching us on the big screen.
That's why I did in VR. That's why I moved my hands. I thought maybe it would do something, but it's not 3D. It's just
stupid.
I realized it after I did it, and I was like, well, I just look stupid.
Let's see. What's their next stupid point? Shitty, stupid, artificial, limited housing system.
I would agree.
Okay. You know what? You got 1 point. The housing system in Final Fantasy, basically making it, it's shit. It is pretty bad. Yep. Except for I just don't like the way that they word this. So I'm still gonna say this. They said this is the exact. Oh no, I was looking at a different thing. Okay, so 0 flexibility in class rotations. This is exactly the singular optimal rotation that you will always use for every class, no deviation. Well, actually, 1 for AoE clearing trash and 1 for killing bosses and single targets. Why do you keep saying singular? Singular targets. Just single targets, Chief.
It's a singular target.
I tried playing every single class to cap as at Endwalker, and it was all the same experience. No skill trees to mess with, no choice of abilities that you want to use or take up to mix things up or get creative. This baby's first RPG shit. It's brain dead and boring. I talked about it earlier. I do believe that Final Fantasy does lack creative ability when it comes to their classes. They're overly homogenized, and it's getting worse expansion over expansion. And it's something that eventually is going to kind of hit a breaking point. At one point it's going to start turning players off, because when you go and you play an MMO, there is a specific level of creativity, class creativity, that you're going to look for, because you want to have your own specific identity outside of the clothes that you're wearing.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I'm wrong in saying that. I think that there's some beauty to the simplicity of classes in Final Fantasy. However, at one point, as these classes get easier and easier and easier to play, we are going to hit that weird position in which, like, we're all going to feel the same. And especially when it comes to, like, healers as well. Like, healers are in a really rough spot. You have 2 attacks that you use, basically, and then outside of that, that's about it. And
what's gonna happen is, because if everything starts to feel the same, the classes or the jobs that are going to be used are the jobs that get the best buff for that patch.
Yeah, I agree with Monte Cristo on this. They say it's going to crack, and eventually they're going to go back to the days of old. I don't think that they'll revert like that hard to like the TP system and stuff like that, but I genuinely could see them going in the direction in which they do start reverting some of their changes and giving back some of the identity to these Final Fantasy classes. I think overall, after a while, it's going to actually hurt the game. Like right now, it feels good because it seems like people are liking it. It makes Final Fantasy an easier game to pick up for new players, for sure. But the problem is that you're lowering the skills. You're lowering skill ceilings. You're lowering player abilities, and the people that really do enjoy the higher levels of play, well, those are the guys that are going to start going away. And those are the people that spend the most money on your game. I think, at least. Oh, you are lagging out hard.
Just keep talking then.
Yeah, your face like completely froze. It still froze. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like I mean, they still make some valid points. I just really wish that people wouldn't necessarily feel like they have to use such pointed language to get their points across. It's not super necessary.
And Monte Cristo made the joke that I picked the hardest class with the Black Mage, and I did, But I also, even though it's the most frustrating for me to play, I also have the most amount of fun trying to play it because it is a lot more difficult to play than the other jobs that I've played. And if you take that away from people who they're all about that elitist, like I'm really good at this because it's hard to do. You're gonna lose those people for sure.
No, you won't. You won't. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Let me see if I can find another one of these college dissertations that they leave in my fucking comment section. Like there's some of these that are like, wow, man, I can't believe you wrote that much. Like, one, how much time did you like? Oh man, some of these are just so long. Here we go. Here's one. Final Fantasy XIV desperately needs a Mythic Plus analog and scalable difficulty. It is essentially mid-core content. It essentially has no mid-core content. It's either very difficult and requires an obnoxious amount of commitment to be able to complete something, or it's so easy that you could AFK and not realize that the raid or dungeon is done. Also, lately they have been sneaking in important what-if scenarios into Savage and Ultimate fights. It's true, they have been lacking some story behind Savage and Ultimates. Not much, but a little bit. Definitely with the Ultimates, right? They did that with DSR. DSR, they did a what-if scenario with Dragon Song Reprise, right?
Yeah.
Like what if Horsefant didn't die? Basically, is what ended up happening.
As we calls horse fart. Yes.
Yes. Leaving out a lot of players out of the loop of lore. That is in essence the core of the game and the community. The only reason players do not feel this is because they are new players with essentially not a lot completed, and older content effectively supplies the role of mid-core content. So they're saying that new players are not really, they don't really care about like these issues in the game because the story is filling the role of mid-core content for them because they constantly have.
That's fair. That's fair.
They constantly are. They feel like they have plenty of things to do because they do have a lot to do.
Yeah.
However, I have played Final Fantasy XIV since the first day of A Realm Reborn, and I have completed all of the content, and I come and go as I essentially am out of shit to do because of the difficulty level that I enjoy. After spending 3 to 4 months to clear Hephaestus, and having a coordinated group changing and new groups coming in, devoted many hours to get a semi-competent group to complete it, I got burnt out and I left. Hephaestus is the last boss of the current raid tier. I will eventually return I will eventually return, but for now I'm playing World of Warcraft and enjoying very much Mythic Plus, which I can do for an hour at a time, and it's challenging and difficult, and the difficulty continues to scale. The Endwalker patches feel like a palate cleanser and a filler.
That's what patches are. They're a filler in between expansions. Right?
I believe this is why the current content feels like it has lesser quality than we have seen from the team in the past. However, I also believe that once the overhaul is complete, we will see the Final Fantasy XIV return to form, and then I will also return. The only reason I would return any earlier is if they gave us mid-core options. I am dying to see the what if Omega has achieved their goal, but I can't spend 6+ months, 9 hours a week, progging an ultimate just to figure out what that experience is. WoW is still subpar.
Oh, he's still going?
Yes, sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. WoW is still subpar in terms to lore, storytelling, and overall quality, and quality control and quality of product. Seriously buggy since their initial release, but it does have its successes and scalable content. So there's a lot of stuff that's like right and wrong in this. I guess not necessarily wrong, because a lot of this is like very subjective, right? Like, yeah, I don't understand what you mean by by mid-core content. You mean something that you need to have a general strong understanding of the game to play, but you don't need coordination. Or if it is coordination, it's like quick coordination, like something you can like develop on the fly with people, which it would be something like Mythic Plus. The game is missing Mythic Plus. It's missing something like that for like a group of 4 or 5 people to farm something rather than have to form a full static. Have I lost you again?
You lost me.
Yep, lost you again. See, guys, I told you, no matter what, at one point in time, we're going to get to the Just Ian gaming podcast. It just kind of happens after a while. So anyway, I think that's enough. There's a bunch of other ones. If you guys want to have a really good time, I highly suggest hopping in that comment section and seeing what some of these people have said. There are, and I'm not kidding, there are some of these. I wish I could find one to bring up on screen just to show you. But there was one of them that I am almost positive reached the maximum characters allowed in the comment section for YouTube. I mean, we're talking about like it was wild. But you know what it is? Like, people are passionate about their RPGs. We're passionate about our MMOs. While I'm enjoying both, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people that are as well. Like, we want both games to do well, because if both games do well, then
they're fun.
Well, it's fun, but also they make each other better, right?
Yeah, they do. Speaking of which, since Tencent's making a WoW clone, so that should be another one to.
Did you see that yet?
I haven't seen the footage of it or anything. I did see that. God, what's the name of the company that they're out there with? NetEase. They tore down the Blizzard statue that they had out there.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
so I
feel like that's kind of just desserts, though, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. So, you want to hear something crazy there?
Go ahead.
I mean, we talked. I cannot believe we talked 86 minutes about Final Fantasy
and World of Warcraft. Yeah, but there's a lot to say, man. There's still a lot to say.
No, there is. There's a lot to say. Dead Space comes out in 5 days.
Yes, it does.
And you're not seeing like it's so crazy that I haven't seen ads for it or anything like that. It's just so crazy that game is coming out in 5 days. Most people are excited for it, that you talk to about it, and it's nowhere to be found.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I kind of imagined like that would just kind of be the way. I figured we'd get to that kind of that sitch, you know what I mean? We get to that situation in which some of these games are just not going to be advertised the way that you'd think they would be normally.
But you would think a company like EA would, you know what I mean? They kind of well, do they need to, I guess? One, it's one of those things where it's a game that's like so well known that people are already going to probably just know when it's going to be coming out anyway. Yeah. It's not a game that you necessarily like. Yeah, they probably want to advertise it to new players potentially. However, at the same time, I don't know if it's really that necessary. Yeah, it's probably not.
So I mean, I'm definitely excited. You said how many days? 4 days?
5. Yeah, that comes out the 27th.
I wonder if I'm gonna buy this. I wonder if I'm gonna buy this on PC,
PlayStation, or PC.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what you want it to look like.
I mean, you have to keep in mind the reason why I wouldn't buy it on Xbox is because my PS5 is stronger than my my Xbox Series S, right?
Yes.
No, I mean like it is. Like the PS5 is stronger than the Series S.
Don't.
No. I'm not trying to go. I'm not trying to throw smoke. I'm not trying to start a console war, okay?
But it is stronger than that potato over there.
No, but I mean like the PlayStation 5 is stronger than the Xbox Series S.
There's no question about it. Yes, it is.
Yeah, like the X we can make arguments about, but the S there is no argument to be made. Correct?
There's no argument.
The Xbox Series S is just for my Game Pass titles and for like streaming. But now I have to be honest, I might end up getting rid of it because I'm just gonna play my PC titles. You know, I'm gonna play my Game Pass titles on PC. I don't really see the point of me trying to play Game Pass titles on the Xbox. The main reason that I
don't have an Xbox anymore is because I can play them on PC. I'm gonna go over some quick things before we get into this next meaty discussion that we're gonna have about Microsoft.
Actually, you know what? I take that back. I can't get rid of my Xbox because I have such like a long catalog of other games that I've digitally purchased. So like Jackie and I have been able to play like Diablo and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be pretty dumb. It'd be pretty dumb of me to get rid of the ability to play that stuff.
Or you know what she could do is buy Diablo 4 on PC and play with us that way, because that'd be pretty awesome.
Well, she probably will. So
okay. Two big things. Armored Core 6, which we got to see at the Game Awards.
yes.
From Software, which a lot of people are excited about that. They are going to be having a live show on February 3rd, which is an hour long to show the game, which is kind of impressive this early. You know what I mean? So there's no telling how long they've been working on, what state it's going to be in. But if you're excited about Armored Core 6, check in February 3rd for an hour long Bandai Namco show off with the game. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely stoked for that. We also have Blue Protocol coming out closer to the end of this year too, which I'm also excited from them.
Is that an actual MMO, or is it going to be more of just like a hack and slash? Oh,
For all intents and purposes, it's an MMO.
Oof. Okay, I don't know. Juggling three MMOs that's going to be oof.
Figure it out. I mean, no, I mean, I'll probably put one of them down for a while, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Like I'm not.
Yeah.
Like I like WoW, but I'm not like fucking
sold to it. Yeah.
Die hard connected to it. But the benefit is Final Fantasy is that game it's easier to put down and come back to. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Eventually, it's gonna get to the point where I'm just never gonna have time to play regular games anymore, and I'm just gonna have like a cycle of like 8 MMOs that are gonna be played all the time.
Yeah, and here's a scary industry standard. So before we get into the Microsoft thing, I think this kind of ties into, well, kind of not. So Marvel Avengers has confirmed that it will stop support on September 30th. Is exactly almost 3 years after the game launched. Okay, that's Square Enix produced it, and Crystal Dynamics is the one who developed it. That is super scary. From September 30th, you won't be able to buy a digital copy of the game. And they said that they're going to try to keep it running as long as possible. So that means probably another 6 months. That's kind of the PR speak. Another 6 months, and then you won't be able to play it. And that game is notorious for microtransactions, skins for all the Avengers and all that stuff to inside the game. That right there that's what's scary about games as a service, because this type of stuff can happen. I think it's more rare that you have a game like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy that can run for 10, 15 years and still go. So your investment is still there of what you did, but then you buy a game like this, you invest in it, and after 3 years, it's shit canned essentially. So
yeah, I guess it depends on how long. How long?
3 years is short.
3 years is short. What's the good amount of time that you would expect somebody to continue to service a games as a service?
Man, I don't know. What's the answer? Is it 5 years? Is it
I don't know.
I don't think it's
say
because
this
this game ran its course. I think it's because they hit a creativity wall and couldn't keep going with it.
You know what the deal is that it was also just wasn't popular.
Yeah.
It sucked. That's also the reason why. But
hey.
Here's the thing. So this is the discussion to have with games as a service is should games as a service be something you're charged for? Because I don't personally I don't like the idea of me buying a game. I paid for it. It's mine. I own it, correct? So if I bought Halo or I bought whatever, I bought that game. I own it. I should be able to fucking play it. But because you don't want to support it anymore, I can't play what I purchased.
Yeah.
Where's the fairness in that?
I don't know. Willware brings up the Riot MMO. Do you know when that comes out?
No, there's no details on that. It's probably like a 2025, 2026 game or something like that. It could even be longer. I don't know. I don't know exactly when they started development on it, but I mean, you got to think MMOs usually take about 10 to 13 years to get put together.
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking about doing a video over upcoming MMOs, are you not?
I am actually. It's
okay.
Not my next video. It's the one that's going to come after that. I do actually have an expose on MMOs that I have that's going to be coming up pretty soon.
Okay, well, let's get into the meat of this next one. So as you and I don't know why Microsoft got hit so hard with the brunt of the news of this, but the big tech is basically got super bloated during the pandemic, and a lot of companies are doing mass layoffs. Okay, I think Microsoft's at 10,000, Amazon's thinking doing 18,000. I think Google has in quite a few thousand.
Yep.
It's all the way down the list of big tech. But I think they used the guise of this the layoffs at Microsoft specifically because they did a lot of gutting at 343. I'm saying that's not of the thousands. A lot of the people who got laid off are data analyst and support group. But 343 really got gutted. Joe Staten is still with the company, but he was specifically brought up during the Bonnie Ross problem as being the guy who's going to come and right the ship. At least that's the way the community felt about it, right? He was the original Halo dude. He's going over into, I believe, marketing is where he's getting moved to. But 343, they lost people in multiplayer. They lost people in writing and something else. But they've basically gutted that group, which doesn't bode well for Halo Infinite. If you're a fan of Halo Infinite, maybe it does. But what I wanted to ask you about that. Also, I'll take this. Patrick Wren used to be a multiplayer developer designer, and he worked on Halo Infinite. He tweeted out that the layoffs shouldn't have happened, and Halo Infinite should be in a better state. The reason for both of those things is incompetent leadership up at the top during Halo Infinite development, causing massive stress on those working hard to make Halo the best it can be. So that kind of like I said, I think with the failure that no matter how you look at it, Halo Infinite is a failure. Okay, it's a failure of a game. It's a failure of a flagship franchise for Microsoft. So what I would like to ask you, Ian, is where do you think this puts Halo? Do you think it makes them shelf it for a while? Or do you think maybe they move on to do something else and give Halo the IP to another studio?
So what I think is actually going to happen here is I believe that this is just a bump in the road. I hate to say 10,000 jobs. I do feel bad for the people that lost their jobs. I feel bad for anybody who loses their job. But I feel like this is just kind of a bump in the road for the Halo and everything like that. I think what this actually means is that after the acquisition goes through, because Xbox is looking to take on a lot of employees pretty soon here, once this Xbox deal goes through, that a lot of these folks are going to end up with, or a lot of these folks are. I could see where 343 ends up getting pulled into Activision, or the IP for Halo gets handed over to one of the studios in Activision.
Yeah, and I've seen on Twitter that people are there's a lot of your Halo faithful that are against that happening, which is weird. I think with the Halo IP, they need to basically do a complete reboot. Start with Halo 1 story and just reboot the whole game, because they got so far off of canon that they lost the people that they charmed with the first 3 games. You know what I mean? They lost them when they started going everywhere else.
So I don't know if it's the narrative that really drove people away as much as it is the multiplayer that became less and less fun,
compelling,
less compelling and just like less interesting for people to play. And then also on top of that, to the largest detriment, is the fact that they never made a BR, and that was the thing that the fan base as a whole was asking for. And for Halo to come out, for 343 to come out and say, we don't need a BR, our multiplayer is enough. That's what their stance was that multiplayer or battle royale is just a fad. That's interesting. That was an interesting take that did not pay off well for them, because Battle Royale is very much not a fad and very much is a very popular and probably the most popular way people play FPS games or shooter games at the moment. Yes, you do have games like Valorant and CSGO that are still popular and doing their thing. However, to the mass populace, most people are playing BRs. I would guarantee that just about any household that you talk to, they've all played Fortnite or Warzone.
Yeah. Yeah, the kids are playing Fortnite and the adults are playing Warzone and Fortnite.
So for you to believe that it's something to just skip over entirely was an incredibly bad creative decision.
Naive would be the word.
Yeah. And maybe even zealous, right? Overzealous. Like they thought they knew better.
Yeah. And what's crazy about this is these layoffs even hit the coalition, which is weird, right?
Yep.
Which I think that was probably contractors, because Microsoft Studios does like to use a lot of contractors. I mean, we can get into it. Contractors are only able to work there for 18 months anyway. Might as well go ahead and cut them. Bethesda lost, I believe, contractors because they haven't really come out and said it was anything, anything else. It wasn't like wasn't like with 343 where they actually said which departments they hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think Bethesda's the really good example of that. Was probably mostly contractors for that one.
Yeah, because well, the thing is they're pretty darn close to finishing Starfield, right? If it's not already finished. So
a lot of your quality testers,
it makes sense. Yeah.
Quality testers, your baseline programmers, maybe even some of your level designers and stuff like that. Like their contract's going to be up. There's probably not a whole lot of reason to hold on to them. You know what I mean?
And just give them a severance package and
I mean, just about any time any of these major projects come to an end, you're gonna see a mass layoff. It's no difference. Like I work in construction. It's the same thing that we do. You know what I mean? Like we'll keep a basic group of maintenance folk around, but for the most part, once the building's built, there's nothing else to do with those people. So they go on to the next job. They go to work at the next game or the next gaming studio or whatever it might be. Yeah. So I mean, it's just kind of like I would imagine some of those numbers have to do with that. I know there's been a lot of big tech layoffs across the board. Tech companies were doing incredibly well over the pandemic, just because of how organizationally they're built and how they work. It wasn't necessary for a lot of those people to have to work out of an office, so it made at-home work far more accessible. Yeah. However, as time goes on and that stuff, it's kind of fallen out of popularity, or like the stuff is developed to a way that it really doesn't need any further development. Their stocks are going down, their money's going down.
Yeah, we're about to hit the big R word in the economy. So if we're already in it, so it's
they redefined that. So
yeah. My bad.
It has a new definition. Yeah, there's a new definition
and to confound the situation, I don't know exactly the source, but almost every of our friends' podcasts that we watch and that we're friends with, are talking about a Starfield delay. So you have people laid off at Bethesda, and then you say, "Oh, there's a possible Starfield delay." They're trying to associate the two together. Now, we have made bold predictive statements about what would happen if Starfield wasn't good. What if it is delayed?
Yeah,
it was supposed to be first half of the year.
Yeah, it's gonna make this year very, very rough for Xbox, because at that point you're really only looking at Redfall.
Yeah,
which I don't believe that game's gonna be like. It's probably not going to be nearly as impactful as, say, High on Life.
Really? Okay.
I think High on Life's popularity and virality is much higher than Redfall. Okay. At least like High on Life brought more people into wanting to play it because of the memes.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how,
of the game.
The personality of the game, where you're not going to have that same personality. You're not going to have that same opportunity for virality out of something like Redfall. Will it be a good game? Probably. Will be a lot of fun, and people are going to enjoy playing it, I'm sure.
Which we'll find out in 3 days, because that's when they do that direct. So it's supposed to be quite a bit in the news.
Yeah, we'll get a better look at it. But this is also one of those games where like the more I find out about it, the less I'm interested in playing it. So like it's actually when I knew nothing about it, I really wanted to play it. Now the more I know about it, the less interested I am. You do see a lot of Xbox gamers kind of huffing a little bit of the copium, because they're like, oh, well, look at all these games that we're going to have on Game Pass. And they're also adding Blizzard titles. And it's like,
yeah, Diablo IV, that's a multi-platform game.
Pump the brakes. Pump the fucking brakes.
Which is weird, is they added Diablo IV, but they didn't add Call of Duty. You know what I mean? So weird in their list. So weird.
So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting development. But as majority PC players, it's good eating for us this year, so we don't really have a lot of concerns about when Starfield gets released or how good Redfall is, because we have Baldur's Gate this year, we have Diablo IV this year, we have Final Fantasy XIV this year, we have Dead Space is going to be coming out.
Wait.
I have Final Fantasy XVI this year on PlayStation, but whether it's Baldur's Gate, Diablo IV, whether it's Dead Space, whether it's Harry Potter next month. There's a long list of really good games that we're going to have access to play, and it's just going to be an awesome year to be a gamer.
It's rumored that for Harry Potter, you just perked me up, buddy. You just perked me up.
Yeah.
Gave me a little.
Did you see the gearing system in it? It's a straight up RPG style gearing system now.
You can walk down the halls and curse kids while you're walking down the halls. Yeah.
Curse of impotence.
Oh. It's not that fun.
So talking about great games and great gaming experiences, I felt like the best way to be able to end this discussion for the day is for me to talk about my experiences playing God of War Ragnarok. I've enjoyed it. I've definitely enjoyed it. Boy. It's been good.
Do you like the son?
Atreus?
Yeah, he started to wear on me a little bit on the first game, and then I endeared to him at the end. I'm just curious. He seems to be a little more of an edgelord in this one, so I was just curious.
No, he's just a teenage boy. He's just a teenage boy. That's all it is, man. Like, dad doesn't know everything.
It's just the boy.
No, it's just dad doesn't know everything. I want to do my own thing. I want to be my own man. Stop trying to hold my hand everything we do. Stop trying to be overprotective. I want to make my own choices. It's normal. So yeah, it's probably gonna grind you a little raw after a while, because it does, and I would imagine it probably does for a lot of dads when they're trying to raise a son and the son just doesn't fucking do what they want them to do.
Oh, but I've never run into that.
Yeah, I'm sure. But it's one of those deals where you're just watching the kid grow up. Narratively, the story's fantastic. I think like the story experience for this game is a 10 out of 10. Graphically, the game is a 10 out of 10. Combat-wise, 10 out of 10. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff that the game does that I think is great. Music is insanely good in God of War Ragnarok. I mean, it's probably some of the best that they've had in the series overall.
I feel there's a but coming.
Yeah, but everything outside of the main story sucks. I just realized that it's these style of games, these style of adventure games that I think I'm just tired of. I'm just tired of it. You know, you've brought it up with the discussion of like the Ubisoft normal shit. You know what I mean? Like climbing the tower to get the viewpoints and stuff like that. Like, well, this game doesn't necessarily have that. It just has the same washed up puzzles all over the map of like find the thing and then spin the bar so it brings up the proper rune and then unlocks the chest. It has the same everything, it feels like, everywhere you go. And side questing just feels tedious. Everything about side questing feels tedious, to be honest.
Does it feel important to do the side quest?
Like some of the materials and stuff is good to have because it allows you to be able to upgrade your equipment. But to be honest, by the time I got to the point where I'm just sick of side questing. I'm sick of all the backtracking, because backtracking in the game is incredibly tedious to do. There's a lot of like rivers and space that you have to like travel across. It's like when you beat an area in God of War, it's devoid of life. You've killed everything there. So there's nothing that's going to attack you, which means that like that's good because it's less annoying for you to get through places. That also means that places that you go through are lifeless. There's nothing there anymore. So like it's just like here's all this dead space for me to travel between before I get to this chest that I left back, 9 or 10 hours earlier into the story that I didn't have the ability to unlock because the sun didn't have this special bow ability yet for me to be able to open the chest.
It feels like a weird design choice. I understand if they're trying to keep it to realism or make you feel rewarded that you've already cleared it, but it seems like a weird design choice in a hack and slash type melee game to just go back to an empty area. Yeah,
it's that, but then it's also like the tediousness and the poor design choices of making me have to backtrack through these areas for like a chest or 2 chests. and the materials that I get out of them are the same materials that I would get from mostly just about anything else. Like maybe it might be like a different rune ability or something like that, but it's nothing that's really going to fundamentally change your gameplay. Most of the time it's just like upgrade material. You know what I mean? So it's nothing like that crazy. And then there's like side quests, like actual side quests. One is called Across the World, I believe it was. And basically you have to go to every realm and you have to get an ingredient for this meal to make. And it's boring. It's literally just go back to like Svartalheim or go to like the elf place or wherever else and go get this piece of fruit that's sitting next to a tree. That's it. There's nothing else to it. Like, it's just this long, grueling walk to an item that you get. And after you get all 4 items, you get a or after you make this meal, you get like a 10% stat boost to like all of your stats.
So
like,
it's gameplay bloat is what it is. It's gameplay bloat.
It's bloat. Yeah, it's just unimaginative. Like, so like the rewards aren't high enough, and then the action for it is bad. And the reason why I don't like it, and the reason why it turns me off so much to go back and do those side quests, it's not just the tedious nature. It's just how different it is in regards to like how the pacing of the actual campaign is. There's just a better way that I felt that they could have done it. And especially when you're creating these maps that are like pseudo open world, but it's actually linear. Like that's also what makes it just feel bad. Cause it like you're not adventuring, you know, you're just literally walking the same narrow path that you were just walking probably like a few hours ago. The game's like a solid 8 or a 7. I would probably say like a solid 8 or a 7. It's not a 10 out of 10 by any means, because like, I'm sorry, you're just doing the same shit that you did. You're just doing the same shit that you do in like any of these adventure games. You know what I mean? Like the same type of collection bullshit. The same, like, you know, and you're masking that as gameplay. Like there's nothing transformative about that. Right there on the screen, it just showed for a second. It showed like one of Odin's ravens. These like green ravens. All it is just something that you need to like throw an item at, or throw like your axe at and kill it. And then once you found and killed all of Odin's ravens, you get like some rewards. That's no different than every other game where they also have that similar mechanic of like, for instance, Resident Evil has it, where like there's like the fucking bobbleheads that you need to they need to bring. Or bobbleheads that you pick up in Fallout. You know what I mean? Like it's like all these games do this like collection thing, and like I'm sure there's people that like it. But like I just don't like tedious stuff in games. Like give me actual challenges.
Well, I thought about it. I'm not a completionist anymore. You know what I mean? I'm play the game, get through it. If it's a multiplayer game, I'll go over to the multiplayer after I finish the campaign or whatever. But I'm just not a completionist anymore, because most of the time it feels like it's just wasting my time. You know what I mean? Some games I will do some of the stuff because if it has something valuable to get for it, but for the most part, if it's just to do it, then I'm good. You know what I mean? If it's something I can beat the game without having, I really don't need it.
No, I feel the same way. I like unless you make the rewards and the experience transformative to the rest of the story. That's what actually would, or not transformative, like to the actual experience. Like then it would actually be worth it. Like if there was a quest line I could do, there was like a side quest line that would give like Kratos like another weapon that wasn't one that you get from the story. That would be really cool, but they don't have anything like that. You know what I mean? So like it's not like super necessary for me to go do. Like there's some equipment that I could go and get, but it's also again nothing that big of a deal.
Wilbur brings up the Riddler trophies in the Batman games. Like holy crap, there's like 150 of them or something stupid like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's just annoying, man. It's tedious, annoying, and I'm just kind of tired of doing that kind of stuff. Like you have to make it really rewarding, and you have to make the experience fun. One of the things that should have been fun in God of War is like you have to go hunt down like the berserkers and their gravestones, berserker gravestones. You go to the gravestone, you stick a sword in it, it summons the berserker, you need to kill them, and then you get some loot out of it, right? But all of those berserker fights, they all feel the same. Like they're all basically the same fight over and over again. Maybe with the small minor differences of like, you know, one that does like a fly in the air and dive down to the ground. or maybe one has more than one guy that you have to fight at the same time, or one does ice attacks and the other does lightning. But for the most part, their attack patterns are the same. The arena is the same.
Does this game have the Valkyries too, or no?
That's their version of the Valkyries.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like, so at the very end of the game, they actually tell you, they're like, hey, we should go take care of the Valkyrie Queen, the current Valkyrie Queen, which is like Gná. But like by that time, like I'm so disinterested that I'm like, no, I already beat the game. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna go like do your like weird side quests so that I can go find Gná and then kill Gná. I'm like, maybe I'll get in the mood for it another time. But as it stands, there's like I can go play Demon Souls now. I'll probably do that.
I'd like these games that are on console. I like the consoles get to a point to where it's kind of the same thing. PlayStation's notoriously bad with their first party titles of having the crawl through a narrow space and that's their loading screen. Ride a train. I watched 3. There was 4 loading screens in that gameplay that we just watched, and it was riding in the back of a stagecoach. That's a loading screen. Climb through the rock. It's a loading screen. I'd like for them, which I thought the PlayStation was supposed to be touted as having this super special SSD for speed of data transmission that they can't get out of the way of. But of course, they also haven't made just this generation games yet either. So yeah, maybe that'll shape up.
Yeah, I think the other thing that really that I really didn't like when it comes to God of War was just also like and I brought this up previously on one of the other podcasts, like just the incessant talk from the background characters, whether it was Mimir, whether it was Atreus or whoever else like that had joined the party for a short period of time. Like they never give you the chance to solve puzzles on your own. And then also I get the usefulness of it because they'll be like enemy on the left because it's somebody that's about to attack you, right? So it's like kind of giving you an idea that hey, you're about to get attacked, you should probably dodge. But like I don't need to be told every single fight that I've been hit with Bifrost, or hey man, you're on fire, or hey man, you've got ice on you. Like I can see. My eyeballs can see my character is on fire. Like I get it, dude. So it's like there's just a lot of like really obvious stuff that they throw in there that I'm like it just annoys the shit out of me. But overall, I really liked the game. It was a lot of fun. It was a good introduction into my brand new PlayStation 5. So it was cool. So I'm excited to play some more games on it and download some stuff and see what else I have. But I believe we've tapped this out.
Yeah. This has been a juicy one, and it kind of makes up for last week's. So
it does make up for last week. Usually these podcasts are about an hour to an hour and a half long, but this time we ran for 2 hours. So good for us.
Yeah, good for us.
And good for you.
Yeah, if you stuck around, you get a thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I don't think anybody has the time to stick around for a whole straight 2 hours. However, I'm sure there are some folks that are going to end up finishing and watching it on, once the VOD is posted for this anyway. So,
yeah.
Again, thank you guys, specifically our podcast listeners and whatnot, because you guys are the ones that have been here since we started doing this. And honestly, without you guys, we wouldn't have been able to get to the point that we are now, where we're actually starting to have some like monicum of success doing this. It's going to be really cool once the podcast starts to get a little bit more popular and we start having some really cool discussions with the chat. But that's something that's going to kind of come over time. We're going to plan on pushing and trucking and keeping out, trying to put better content out and put out more content for that matter. So I just hope you guys really enjoy it. And, thank you everybody that's been with us along the way. 1,050 some odd subscribers we're already up to now.
Yeah, so it's so crazy. So crazy.
Growing by the day, my friend, growing by the day. Actually, currently, as it stands, we were at 1,059 subscribers. We grew a couple since we started the podcast today, so that's great.
Nice.
So I appreciate everybody that came to watch.
Except for Jackie, who says I'll never be her friend, so...
It's because you suck at Final Fantasy.
Okay, fair.
So maybe if you got good, you'd have more friends.
That's get good or be lonely. So okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
It's the only way for you to get better.
Play by yourself. That's how you get better.
So to finish this out, I will say that I am working on another video that it will be coming out relatively soonish, probably in a couple weeks. It takes me a while to get all this kind of stuff together, all the research and the writing and the recording and the and the gameplay too. Like the playing of the actual games and stuff like that makes a really big difference when writing these scripts. So I try to keep that stuff in mind as well. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed the show. You guys are ridiculous. I really hope you guys enjoyed the show. We love you dearly. Hold your cups high, and
We'll see you next time, adventurers. See you next time.
Say it again, adventurers. We'll see you next time, adventurers, and we'll see you next adventure.
Yes. Bye.
Good shit.